Hey, what's up everyone? How's it going? Today is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. And I'll be discussing the picture that's in the thumbnail. It says RD. I don't know if I wrote 357. I think it just says RD. Kill the hooker here, 1987 or something like that. I don't have the picture in front of me. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'll get into it. A few people have asked me about that picture. What's the bottom line behind it? Yeah. Now, as far as it goes with me switching up my camera equipment, this is what I was originally using. This little thing, it flips out like that. I would flip this part around this way, talk to you guys to be able to see. Now I don't have a thing to see, but this is the one that I was using. Okay. Now, the one I'm using now is my son's as well. Oh, this is all my son's equipment. Like I said, he even has a little clip-on microphones and stuff, but I don't want to use that stuff. I've explained in the past why. Anyway, fix my balls, you know. I think all strangling me down there. So, yeah, this camera here, I'm using this now. The reason behind my switch is my friend had reached out to me. Originally, Sear told me to call KK. I called KK. You know, KK1357, the guy does the beautiful whole cars, the real nice wild style pieces. And he tells me, look, Robert, I love your videos, but I hate your fucking videos. He said, your audio this time. I said, yeah, but you know, I gave him the whole cup string theory. And he's like, no, but that's stupid. And he's like, you're not. He's like, it don't matter about anything but the actual audio, and it makes 100% sense to me. He said the only thing, you don't have to get all fancy and elaborate with the backgrounds and stuff and green screens and stuff, but people want to hear what they're doing. They're listening in the car and stuff like that. You got to get better audio. And I said, all right, let me try this camera here that my son has in his room. Because like I said, I don't want to wear that little clip thing. You know, and I feel like I'm investing myself too much in this thing. I'm not asking anyone for anything or anything like that. Hey, there you got that. So, shout outs to KK1357. Nikki, you were right, man. Everyone is commenting how much they love the audio and this and that. So, yeah. And, yeah, well, KK1, he comes to me with something like that. Man's got no reason to steer me wrong or anything like that. The dude's just got my interest at heart, and he's right. And that's that with the audio shit. Now with Dez, TFA KSlay. A lot of you guys have been asking me about him, and yes, I knew him very well. I actually known Dez since, shit, I'm trying to think back, since before I saw Style Wars. You see, Dez was a street kid, man. He's from uptown, not far from where I lived and grew up in John Jay Park, and like I explained, people hang out and stuff. But him and his friends, basically the TFA graffiti crew, they would wash windows on 59th Street, where the 59th Street bridge would let off onto First Avenue, right in front of the tramway. They would do it there, and they would also go where the cut through from the upper deck would let off on 63rd Street. They were doing what is known as being a squeegee. KSlay Dez, TFA, when I first met him, he was a squeegee. He'd wash car windows for money. And he lived right uptown from me. And we didn't really get along too well. I'll tell you why. We had our own little hustle going on. What we would do is, we would steal newspapers. You ever see in New York City, a lot of you guys aren't actually in New York City, but you have what's known as a newspaper. Of course, I'm not trying to insult anyone. Everyone knows what a newspaper is, but I'm trying to explain how this route would work. A truck would come by from the Daily News, or the Post, the New York Times. I like the New York Times because they cost more. Now back then, a newspaper was like a quarter. But anyway, what would happen is about 5:30, even 4:30, they would come by and they would throw these bales of fucking newspapers that is tied together with this plastic shit. They would throw these things in newspaper right out the back of the truck, and it would land in front of the newspaper store, which is pretty much called an Optimo shop. Now, most of these Optimo shops are open 24 hours a day. So you got to kind of see this truck before they see the truck, because you got to grab that stack of newspaper. Anyway, what we would do is, when the newspaper truck would go up First Avenue and throw these bales of newspapers out for the stores, some of them aren't open, some of them are supermarkets that sell the newspaper also. We would take these newspapers, we'd cut the thing off it, we'd go to the 59th Street Bridge early in the morning when the sun's coming up, rush hour, coming into Manhattan. These people would be coming into Manhattan to work. And this is when I'm like 11, 12 years old, is what I did, for money. Now, after we'd steal these bales of newspapers, we'd stand in front there where the tramway was coming, and all the traffic is coming in from Queens. When they get stopped at the light, we'd walk up to the windows, ask people if they were interested in buying a newspaper. Like the Daily News, I believe, it was like $1 at that point, 75 cents or something, so we'd tell them 50 cents. You know, for real, like the Post was like a quarter. Well, we'd tell them, yo, 10 cents. Yeah, it's going back to the 80s, man, early 80s. Like I said, I was a child. Star Wars, that movie, never even came out yet. So anyway, we would do this early in the morning. And now the squeegees, which was like Des, TFA, and them, they would start their shit at about 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock. They'd get down there and they'd start washing car windows for money. So now you got us, the white boys, running around with the newspapers, selling the newspapers, and you got the black dudes that are washing the car windows. So, yeah, it turned into a clash. So I eventually came, like, I remember they actually chased us out of there once. When we were little, we were like 12 years old, man. And Des and them chased us out of there, man. Yeah, so we went up to the upper deck of the bridge and started throwing like rocks at them and bolts and screws and shit. And then they'd come try and run after us, but we used to play tag on the bridge. We knew the bridge like the back of our hand. So yeah, I've known Des a long time. It's funny because the movie Star Wars came out, and I remember seeing it on Channel 13. I'm like, oh shit, that's the squeegee. Yo, that's that fucking squeegee, yo. Oh shit. So then the next time I saw him, which I don't believe was there at that point, I don't think he was squeegeeing anymore, but I bumped into him up in town. Like I said, he's from Harlem. Right up around there, that's where I hang out a lot. So I was like, oh shit, yo, you write graffiti, this, that, yo, I saw you on that show on Channel 13, and he's like, yeah, man, you know, this, that. So he had a marker on him. I remember it was like a Nietzsche or something. I was like, yo, I write graffiti too. And he's like, oh, what you write, this, that. So he gave me the marker. I just went like this with it. I was unfamiliar with like flooded markers. You know, he had it in a sock too, like old school shit. I took that marker, like I just said, all over my arm and shit. And I remember I was wearing shorts. It was in the summertime. I showed him my whole arm. It was like black, like Flowmaster. That shit started itching, man. He's like, you fucking toy. And he snatched back his marker, man. But yeah, I've known Des a long fucking time, man. And I believe the last words that we've spoken was after my brother was on Rikers Island. He was on trial for second-degree murder. Yeah, and it was all over the newspaper and everything. So at this point, KSlay was actually living, or I don't know what, but on 63rd Street, I was living on 62nd Street, but I was between 1st and 2nd Ave. Now, like I said, my boy Led Zepp, who I was speaking about before, Chris, he lived on 62nd between 1st and York. Now, there was a big building that they built right over the FDR Drive on 63rd Street, above the FDR Drive. Now, I always known it to be a hotel. But apparently, yeah, I always saw KSlay, Des, coming in and out of that building. Where the sun's coming up, the sun's going down. And I remember once, you know, he kind of told me not to say nothing. But yo, that dude was listening to fucking John Denver, man. Yeah, he had like a pickup truck, like an SUV type deal. And he was playing John Denver, man. Country music. I told him, yo, fuck you doing, listen to white boy music, man. I was on my bicycle and I was actually out riding on fire hydrants. And I came across it, he was stopping at the light. It was like a rhinestone cowboy. Yo, I swear to fucking God, yeah. I was like, oh no, yo, I'm gonna tell everyone this shit. He's like, yo, shut your mouth, man. Don't be fucking with me like that. I say, nah, man. I think what you doing? Listen to white boy music, man. Yeah, for real, man. That's true shit. But the last time I bumped into him was shortly after this whole thing with my brother. It was all over the news, and the way it was worded in the newspaper, I understand where he's coming from, but I was a little upset in the wording of the, you know, pretty much the newspaper said I was dead and this and that, and there was a dog, the dog and this and that, and mauling people and all types of crazy shit, but I was known in the newspaper as being the victim. He sicked his dog on me, this, that, was feeding me to the dog, I don't know. Anyway, when I saw Des, my brother was in Rikers Island at this point fighting the case. You could Google it and get the time frame. So, you know, Des comes up to me and he asked me, he said, oh shit, yo, I heard you was dead. That's what he said to me. I heard you were dead. And I said, not dead, man. He's like, nah, I heard some crazy shit, like your brother killed you, and he was like feeding you to the dog or some shit, or he was eating you with some crazy shit, this and that. So he was feeding you to the dog. And I said, well, obviously that never happened, you know. He's like, yeah, he shook his head like, fucking white boys, man, y'all be bugging. That's like some Jeffrey Dahmer shit. I got mad at that comment, Jeffrey Dahmer, because Jeffrey Dahmer was a homosexual that was eating men's genitals, I believe, and keeping people in the freezer and stuff. And I don't know what happened between my brother and the victim. I don't know. And yeah, so that was the last words. Me and him spoke to each other. I didn't show any madness or anger towards her. I just kind of went like that. I kept going my way, and he kept going his way. And yeah, that's the last time I spoke to him. That was probably 2000. I don't know, 2011 maybe, 2012. I mean, I've seen him after that. I've seen him in the Hall of Fame, but, you know, he's over there, man. He's KSlay, Des, and, you know, he's a crowd pleaser, so, you know, I'm not going to go sitting over there, hey, what's up, man? I mean, you know, we live like that, you know, so. I visually saw him many times after that, but the last time we physically had a conversation was then, yeah. And, yo, I'm going to tell you straight up, man, Desi Des, KSlay, man. Yo, he was a street kid, man. I don't know much about his criminal activity, but yeah, he was a street kid, man. He was out there. You got to realize, man, he's probably about 3 years, well, he's 55, according to what the newspapers said. And I'm 53. I'm going to be 54 in 2 more months. So, yeah, he's like a year and a half older than me. So when I saw him, like 13, 14 years old, and he was squeegee and stuff, and that means he'd be, what, 15, 16. And you figure he's, what, 16, 17 in Style Wars. So, you know, in the movie Style Wars, he's probably about 16, 17 years old. So, I don't know, around the time of that movie coming out, he was no longer fucking around washing car windows. But then again, I don't know, because I was no longer stealing newspapers. At this point, I figured out ways to make more money easier. You got me? Yeah, so at that point, I upped my game, so to say, in criminal activity. And I was no longer selling newspapers for a dime. And I believe he upped his game and was no longer washing car windows, too, by that point, yeah. So, yeah, you got that. All right, now, getting to the picture that I was talking about. Oh, by the way, yo, KSlay, man, Desi Des, rest in peace, man. Yeah, good guy, man. Good dude, man. He was out there, man. Yeah, he was a good guy, man. Yeah. Now, with that said, the picture. The reason that says R.D. killed a hooker here, 1987. It's a funny story, but that picture, hold on one second. That picture is bullshit. Straight up. It's a lie. I wrote that there, and I'm going to tell you why. First off, I was with this dude, Baal. B-A-A-L. It's my boy, Baal. B-A-A-L. Alright, now, we were in a train tunnel. He's a good train tunnel guy. When I do my train tunnels, lace children and girlfriend and all types of shit going on in his life, so he's not always ready and available. So at one point, me and Bob were doing it. He's a good dude, man. At this point, I would go mainly with Baal or Mikey Axe, who does the A's. With Baal, B-A-A-L. My boy. Good tunnel guy, man. He knows his shit. He's real calm, he's cool, and he's collect. Good fucking writer. I'd go with Baal. So I know we were on the IRTs somewhere up in Harlem, where it's the 4, the 5, a lot of trains pass through there because they're all equal with each other at this point. So it's lower Spanish Harlem. Anywhere, I would assume, like, I don't know, probably somewhere around 116, 110, 103rd, something like that. But it's all the lines are equally on the same level. So you're dealing with the uptown 6, the downtown 6. You're dealing with the uptown 4 and 5, the downtown 4 and 5. And you got shit. So it's a very busy, big tunnel. And we're in there writing graffiti. So all of a sudden there's a train comes and we hide. Train goes by. We come back out from hiding. Because you don't want the train to see you. They see you, they report you. So we come back out. And I'm like, okay, I'm shaking my pen, starting to do my graffiti, doing RD, 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 RD. And he's like stuck somewhere. Like not stuck physically, but he's just not moving. So I come up to him, I go, dude, what the fuck, man? What's up, man? Let's keep it going, man. Chop, chop, you're burning daylight, you know? And he's like, yo, wait a minute, I'm reading this. I'm like, yo, what? It's like, you know the REVS, REVS cost, not necessarily cost on this excursion, but REVS. The guy who writes REVS, he does them real cool metal structures. I'd say that's the best thing about REVS is that fucking metal work he does, man. He's got a lot of good, but I don't know, he kind of fucked up hanging out with that Espo dude. That kind of was like, yo, he just killed his career with that shit. That was like graffiti career suicide, hanging out with that Philadelphian dolphin. But alright, yeah. So REVS is a graffiti writer. I don't know. I think he's from Brooklyn or Queens or the borderline out there or somewhere. But he would do these cool metal structures. He'd do all this wild welding shit, which I love that shit, man. Real freaky, wild shit, man. And he was also involved with this guy, Cost, KRT, with the wheat paste that they put up all over these fucking don't walk and walk signs in Manhattan. Probably all the boroughs. I don't know. I was pretty much a Manhattanite. That's where I laid my hat. That's where I roam, Manhattan. And yeah, they had every single fucking traffic light. I ain't go front. That in itself puts Cost in a whole different realm of like graffiti writers. I'm dead serious with that shit. A lot of people, like, I don't know, like, they forget that shit even happened. But yes, REVS and him literally put that shit on every avenue, definitely. Maybe not every single side street, but every avenue. I climb around train tunnels. I even saw that shit in train tunnels, man, them fucking wheat paste things, man. Yeah, they went off with that shit. Anyway, this guy REVS was partnered up with Cost at that point. Now, REVS and Cost also did these big roller REVS and Costs. Now, REVS also started going underground into the tunnels. And he would do a big splotch of white. It'd be maybe the size of 2 parking spaces, where you would park 2 cars. It'd probably be about the size of 2 cars. And he would paint it with white roller house paint. And he would normally go all the way up to the ceiling of the tunnel. He'd paint this thing white, then he'd let it dry, and then he'd write like a page to a diary. Now I figured this shit out later just from looking online, like what the fuck is this guy up to, you know? But yeah, each tunnel was a page to his diary. So, he would write shit like, you know, like his mother's sister's cousin stuck their thumb up his ass or something when he was 4 years old and gambles money in Atlantic City to spend it in Vegas. I don't know. All types of weird, like, nonsense to me, personally. I mean, if you're going to write something, fucking write it, you know? But yeah, it's just, I don't know if he was trying to become a rap star or poetic justice or what that shit was about. But it was definitely unique and interesting. I guess me, myself, I get it's a love-hate type thing. Like, it's weird as fuck and it's cool and it's probably like fucking futuristic people are going to be sitting there scratching their chins trying to say this poor guy, man, he's been through it. But when all said and done, it was also bothersome to me when I'm in a tunnel writing and then all of a sudden I can't write this space. You get me? I'm using silver or white because that's what's going to show through on the walls, and all of a sudden he's got this big white patch that I got to walk past and start my shit again. So for that, I didn't like it. REVS as a writer, I think is cool, man. Good shit. But yeah, he's made a few fucked up turns in his life, man. He hung out with some of the wrong people. And like I've explained in my past podcasts, that's pretty important, man. Because you kind of are who you associate with, and especially in this game. You don't want to. That's like the reason I don't do other people's podcasts. Like I'm like, no, like I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna sit here because. Yeah, people, you don't know what road that shit's going to take, man. They're going to start condoning some crazy shit that you were like, oh shit, and they got your face all over that podcast. Well, it's the same with people. You hang out with someone, and later on they become a snitch, a rat, or a fucking pedophile or something. You know, these people start thinking about you. So, yeah, shit like that. And I'm not saying he was hanging out with rats, snitches, or pedophiles, but I'm just using that as an example. So now, getting back to this thing with Baal. B-A-A-L. Me and Baal. Name is Chris. Me and Baal. B-A-A-L. And one of them IRT tunnels. Like I said, 1, 2, like 4 or 5 lanes in that fucking place. A lot of tracks. It's a very busy tunnel. Very wide. Not many places to hide. You just have poles. It's not like the walls with the holes in them. So, and it's pretty lit too, from what I remember, if I'm thinking of the same exact tunnel. But anyway, me and Baal are in there writing graffiti. A train comes. We hide from the train. It's coming on the local track, so we jump onto the express track. We hide behind a pole, let the train go by. The train goes by, we come back out, get ready to write. I start writing. I'm writing. Baal, B-A-A-L, is stopped. I'm moving up ahead. I'm going too far away from him at this point to the point like why bring him? I could just be doing this shit on my own, you know. So I'm like, yo, dude, man. I come back up to him. I'm like, yo, dude, what's up, man? Come on, man. Chop, chop. You know, let's do this, man. And he's like, oh, hold up. I'm reading this. So what he is reading is one of these white painted things on the wall that REVS wrote. So I'm like. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay. Wait. I'm like, yo, Baal, man, what are you, a fucking retard, bro? How long does it take you to read that fucking thing? He's like, no, but this and that. So then I look at it. And it's like yeah, it's in weird handwriting. It's like misspelled words. Some of the letters are upside down and shit like that. I guess he does that to like make it look cool, like some Sid Vicious type shit, or I don't know, or like he's illiterate or something. But yeah, so I'm like, yeah, this shit does take a while, you know. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck, man. So I wrote right there on the wall, R.D. Kill the Hooker here, 1987. You know, as like a spoof on the whole big fucking deciphering this REVS shit, you know. So I'm like, yo, come on, man, let's go, man. This is bullshit, you know. I believe he took pictures of it because he took the picture of that R.D. Kill the Hooker here. 87. And he took that picture that I actually have on this thumbnail. It's the picture that is surfacing. I believe it's the only picture in existence Baal took. So every time you see that picture, that is the picture Baal took. So he took that picture, and that year was not 1987. That's why I say, you know, I was fucking around. It was bullshit because REVS didn't even start doing that shit in the tunnels until the mid to late 90s, right? Maybe even 2000s. Just put it this way. I wrote that 1987 tag in like, all right, my brother was still out. I don't know, maybe 2007, 2006, something like that. I wrote that tag with 1987. I might be wrong, but you can ask Baal, B-A-A-L. He's alive, he's out there, he's rocking. Yeah, man. But yeah, so that's why I wrote that shit there, man. It was just like I'm sitting there, I'm waiting, and it is hard to read, man. You know, I'm over there, yo, come on, man. How long is it gonna take you to read that shit, man? Like, the dog. Yeah, I was fucking with him. With that, you know? And then I looked at that shit, I'm like, yeah, I see what you're saying, man. Like, this shit's weird. Like, he tried to write like an alien, or like, I don't know what the fuck he was up to, but yeah, it's like a weird font also. It's actually like an old school graffiti font. Yeah. Mainly like the suburban neighborhood graffiti style font. Not motherfuckers from Manhattan. This is like, yeah, like suburban outer boroughs. More like Queens or Brooklyn style. Not the Bronx. Bronx is more sharp and ahead of their time. But yeah, it's like he's trying to mimic like an old Queens writer. Actually, I guess technically he is an old Queens writer. Or an old Brooklyn writer, wherever the fuck he's from. But yeah, it was like a weird... He does it a lot, like that hand style. Like Charger, Super Sport, you know, REVS, this, that. Yeah, and so we're sitting there like... Well, like there's a lot of unnecessary lines in it. Like little hearts and shit like that. And so yeah, it's a little tricky to read. And after you get done reading it, you feel like you got robbed. Like you sat here and it took time out of your life to read this stupid shit that don't make any sense anyway. So that was weird. Like, you're gonna write something, man. You know, put down some shit, man. That's like fucking, I don't know, man. That's like fucking that Queen song or something, you know, the Freddie Mercury Queen, like Bohemian Rhapsody or something, like Mamma Mia, let him go, like, like, yeah, that shit ain't make no kind of sense, man. You know, at least at the end you want to learn something about the motherfucker or something, but yeah, it's like for that, you might as well just wrote the fucking ABCs on the wall, man. Or just did your tag a bunch of times. Do your tag a couple hundred fucking times. I don't know, that's my personal opinion. I have no right to talk shit or knock anything that man has done. But yeah, him fucking out that Espo dude, man, definitely a big zero on that part, man. Yeah, that shit was just like, yeah, he was going for it, man. Believe me, REVS, in my eyes, yeah, he was going for it, man. But he fucked up, man. Yeah, all right. That's it, right? Yeah, man. Yeah. Was there anything else I wanted? Oh yeah, I got another funny one for you. All right, so, you know, I'm on YouTube and I'm looking through some graffiti material, trying to find some liars and frauds and shit like that. You know? And just see what other people are up to on YouTube. See what the other graffiti people are doing, what kind of shit they're up to. See where I could possibly look at what's going on here. So I come across this one thing, it says Ghost EA. Now I'm thinking that's Ghost, you know, me, Ghost, with all the problems, RISTMR and shit. So I'm like, oh shit, Ghost, man, yeah. I look, I'm like, oh wow, Ghost is out there. Let me see what this guy Ghost is up there. It's called Ghost EA. And I look at it, I'm like, that ain't fucking Ghost. Like, yo, man, that's some crazy shit. I mean, even the EA part, like Ghost and EA are two writers. And this thing, it's like Ghost is the writer, and I think his crew is EA or some weird shit. But I'm like, oh shit, they call Robbed Ghost. But at first I'm like, oh man, what the fuck? Like, Ghost changed this shit up. Like, that looks like some fucking new wave shit that's going on there. That ain't Ghost, you know? I like Ghost shit, like I've explained before. I was deeply offended, man. I was like, holy shit, motherfucker robbed them, man. And I found that shit crazy. Like, I was expecting to see Ghost come out and, you know, do his shit, you know? And I'm like, wow, doesn't this guy know that, like, like, he has to know, or, you know, maybe I'm 100% wrong. Maybe that's Ghost's. Sorry, people, about that. The battery died, man. I'm going to cut it off right here. Yo, you take care of yourselves, all right? Peace. Desi Dez, rest in peace, man. Rest in peace, man. Yeah, he was out there, man. God bless him. All right, yo.